high school, and then getting married and then having kids. When you do things in that order, the likelihood of you falling into poverty is much less.
Right.
So, doing things in order, remember the old
The order of operations,
the order of operations, or even just the idea of, first comes love, then comes marriage, then comes baby in the baby carriage. Those things, I'm dating myself. You can tell how old I am on that one. But, we get things out of order, things get out of whack. And then, we kind of wonder, well, why isn't it working? Why are we having the problems that we're having?
I like what you say about decide, not slide, because that comes into a lot of what I talk to people who are dating, is that, are you just going to slide into a relationship with someone without any thought behind it? Because when you do meet someone and you're thinking about a long-term committed relationship, marriage, and building a life together, you do want it to be based on a firm foundation. And I like to call that intentional dating.
Mm-hmm.
We're dating with intention. We're dating to get married at some point, maybe have kids. Of course, everyone's outlook on that looks differently, but the main goal is to have a long-term committed relationship. And we need to think about things when we're getting into that. Before we even start meeting people, we need to think about, where do I want to be in 5 years? What do I want out of life? Am I financially able to support a family and things like that, and getting yourself to that point where you can support a family. So you do a lot of things that is, now that we talk about support, where you're supporting the community and you're supporting families, and then you're supporting people too. Like you had said, you had just started premarital counseling. That is so important, because those are hard things to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about, well, what if we can't conceive? When you're first getting married and you're happy and you're planning that wedding, nobody wants to talk about that.
Right.
But those are things that you should talk about, right off the get-go, because whatever marriage, no matter how perfect we think it is, you're always going to have, there's always going to be some kind of issue or something that comes up at some point that challenges us.
Exactly.
And we need to know how we're going to attack those challenges and handle it together, and grow as a couple together as we handle it, instead of growing it apart.
Right. Yeah. And those, that kind of leads me to the second group of people. So the pre-married couples, the couples that are dating, are really great, to connect with. And then also those empty nesters, because think about how your life has changed, right? So you got married, and actually, my husband and I are getting ready to celebrate our 25th wedding anniversary.
Congratulations.
And, thank you. We're so excited. And, there have been ups and downs in our relationship. We've gotten older, things have changed, but it's how we have navigated those ups and downs, right? And again, no marriage is perfect, no person is perfect. And so we have to learn how to compromise and give and support and all that kind of stuff. And so when you kind of get to that, that second stage, right, of empty nesting, and, you've somehow survived the toddler years, the teenage years, and now you're at this point, I think a lot of couples kind of wonder, where has my life gone? What have I done? And how do I now take this next step? Who am I?
Yeah, where do we go from here now that the kids aren't here anymore?
Right, exactly.
We've been hoping for this for a long time, and now that it's here, what do we do with ourselves?
Right. Yeah, it's like you're planning for retirement. Here we are, now we've got all this time again. And you turn and you look at your spouse and you go, who are you? You're not the same person that I married. And then they look at you and say, well, you're not the same person that I married either. So, I don't want to say reinvent yourself, but go back to dating.
Right.
What is it that you used to do? Can you still do those things? Do you want to still do those things? And a lot of times you don't, because you're a different person, but finding those commonalities and things that you can do, if you have the finances to travel, now's the time to do that. But again, have you been able to have conversation? Can you still communicate with each other? And I think that's a big part of handling children along the way, or just, ups and downs of moving or new jobs or any of that kind of stuff. COVID, for goodness sakes. So how are we communicating with each other? Are we listening to each other and understanding, kind of what's changed, or what do we want out of life now? So I think it's neat to, to be able to continue that next step and, and want to grow together even more from there. So.
That is interesting. I think maybe there should be a class on that. Like, what do we do after the kids are gone? My gosh. Because you just throw yourself into that life. Your life is all about your kids, and we don't always think of ourselves as a couple when you're going through all those things.
Right. Who's taking this one to the game, and who's
you're on autopilot.
Right. Exactly.
You really are. So when those kids go, it's a different feeling, I'm sure. So we were talking about earlier. So next week is the Global Love Conference. And what the Global Love Conference is, it's a global conference of matchmakers, love coaches, people that are in the business of love, getting together and talking about what's going on in the world. So we're excited about that. Rebecca's going to be, it's all virtual this year, of course. So Rebecca's going to be coming in and seeing some of the coaches that do different coaching from all over the world, and matchmaking from all over the world too. It's very interesting what different matchmakers do all over the world, and the different customs and things like that. So we're very excited about that. We're going to be talking to, like I said, matchmakers and coaches from all over the world, Asia Pacific, Europe, Canada, everywhere. So that's going to be a lot of fun, and maybe we'll come back and we'll talk about that a little bit later too. So with what I do as a matchmaker, I help people start a healthy relationship on a firm foundation. You help keep them on that firm foundation to keep it going. And we work a lot together with you coaching my clients, talking to my clients on how to make their relationship stronger at the beginning. And then the different things that we do together also. We just had the Funding Fathers event at the Diamond. That was a lot of fun. It was a huge success. Jeff Katz was there.
Yep. He was the funding father this year
he was
too.
the funding father.
Yeah, I think, that's another important part is, what do we do? And especially with the Relationship Foundation, the idea is that we are purpose driven, we're proactive, we're playful, and those are things that are really important to any relationship, whether it's a couple, whether it's you and your kids, whether, especially with dads, most dads like to have fun with their kids, and, but sometimes they're out there, they're working so hard and they forget how to have fun. I think we all do to an extent. I mean, we have bad days, we have ups and downs. And, so being able to do a fun event like that and have so many people of music and just games and, speakers and all that kind of stuff, auctions. I mean, it's always fun to get out. And again, we've been through some tough times, having to be stuck inside for a while, but, by connecting the community and connecting each other, I think that's what's really missing. We think about, we all crave love. We all crave attention. We want that respect. We want that support. And we can't go through life on our own. And so, when we're forced into that singleness, that aloneness, we really start to act differently. We sometimes start to kind of come into ourselves more. And so we have to remember that we're relational people. And so, like I said, going back to, the whole love idea and how we relate to each other, and having events and getting connected to people, it all goes hand in hand.
It really does. And, everyone's been going through different things with COVID. A lot of us have been going through the same things. And what I hear from my singles is, what I like to call the COVID jitters. And I feel it myself sometimes, actually. You're so ready to get out there again and so excited, and you just can't wait to do it. But then when it comes time to do it, we're all just like, oh,
am I actually going to do
am
this?
I ready to go out again? I mean,
Right.
How do I talk to people? You just get nervous, you get an anxiety. And I know I get sometimes like that too. Like there's been times where I'm just dying to get out, but then when it comes time to get out, I'm just like, oh,
maybe I'll just stay out.
Yeah, I think I'll just stay home.
Yeah.
So we sort of get locked into that, and we've
Right.
got to push ourselves back out there in a safe way, of course.
Yes.
But like you said, we are social people. People are, need relationships. They need other people in their lives. And I think one of the silver linings of COVID is it's brought people's thoughts to relationships more. We're valuing our relationships, and we're realizing that, maybe we were in some toxic relationships that we should not be into. We're spending more time with these people. Maybe we've, what we had talked about before, maybe we found out some things about
Right.
these people while we're home with COVID, and or we found ourselves that we're in a good relationship, but we haven't been feeding that relationship. Because we do need to feed that relationship. A relationship that is starving isn't going to go far.
Right. Exactly.
And it's a back and forth thing. Relationships aren't always 50-50, 100% of the time. Ideally, it equals out to that after a while. But so when you talk to couples and you're talking to them about the relationships and what they've been going through with COVID, what are you generally finding, overall?
I would say a lot of it is, we've gotten tired. A lot of people have gotten tired. I just don't want to fight this battle anymore. And so, we have to remember to value each other. And so that's a lot of what I go back and forth with people about. It's okay to share your feelings. It's okay for you to say that is not, comfortable. That is not the way that I want to be spoken to because it hurt me or something like that. And I think, it's really interesting because the people that we're closest to are the ones that we let our guard down the most with. And we feel like they're going to love us anyway. And they're going to love us through no matter what we say or what we do. And sometimes that's true. Sometimes it's not. And sometimes it's toxic and very unhealthy. And so when we bottle up our emotions and our feelings and things like that, are you hearing that other person say to you that, I don't feel like a partner here. I feel like an employee or I feel like a child. And when I hear that, I was like, whoa, okay, did you just hear that? And so, maybe it has been said before, but to have an outside party being able to bring it to your attention is really helpful.
And you're not their family member.
Yep.
You have a total outside look on it. You're an expert that's looking at it from the outside looking in. And I think that's very valuable. And that's what I do too with people. I tell them, I'm not your friend. I'm not your family member. I don't really, I want you to be happy and everything, but, in a safe and effective manner. And in what you had said with relationships, when relationships are starting, I talk to people about boundaries, setting your boundaries.
Right.
And even when you're in the midst of that relationship, maybe you need to reassess those boundaries every once in a while and speak to your spouse or significant other about that down the road, because those do change over time. And especially when we have children, how we're going to raise our kids together, what we're going to allow them to do and what to get away with and things like that. And of course that can always cause a lot of problems in a relationship. And I know those kids just sort of,
they're a blessing and a curse sometimes.
They
right?
aren't they?
And think about what you're bringing into it, right? So think about what you saw growing up. What did you, how were you disciplined or not? How were you loved or not? Because those are the things that you're bringing into the relationship. And, and so that's how you're going to parent probably too. What you liked, you're going to, mirror. What you didn't like, you're not going to use. And so you've got two people who have probably grown up in two different lifestyles potentially. I mean, we always heard opposites attract, right? So they attract, but they also bounce off each other when it comes to that kind of stuff too. So being able to compromise, being able to listen to each other, and you think about holidays. Holidays are always interesting when you are navigating as a couple. What holidays will we celebrate at home? Which ones will we go, visit family with? When kids come into the picture, how do we navigate that? Because these are all conversations that, very rarely do you talk about when you're dating. You might share, favorite holidays and things like that, just stories, which are stories. They're just kind of getting to know each other. But then when you, move through life, you see how those stories play out. And, whether you like them or not, it starts to, be oh, you left your socks on the floor again. So these little things that started out as nothing start to bother you, and being able to talk through it and understand why that person is doing what they're doing.
So you don't think that hour-long big argument was about the socks?
You think? Not so much. Exactly. Do you leave the toilet seat up or down? Yeah.
So when you just blow up, it's not just about the socks
It's
or the
not.
toilet seat or whatever else. You know what my bad thing is I just leave the bathroom a mess.
Mm.
I get done doing my thing in there and I just leave all my stuff and it's a mess. So I really don't have a right to complain about how anybody, it's clean because I do pick it up and clean after a while, but I do have my hair dryer and my makeup's all over the place. So I have to admit that
Yeah.
I have to be a little bit better about that. But yes, but it's not about the leaving the bathroom a mess or leaving the socks on the floor or something. It's generally about a lot of things that's just been balling up inside and then it just all comes out.
Do we feel
Or
loved and
something.
respected, right?
Yep.
And by doing these things, I don't feel loved anymore. I don't feel cared for anymore. You know, when it's not about, you know, it's not about the socks. It's not about the bathroom. It's, you know, you're forgetting me, you know, and
Well, a lot of people don't realize that that's what it is either, and they don't know how to communicate that to their
Right.
spouse. And I think that's where you come in, is you help them realize what's going on and help them communicate that better to each other so they can understand each other better.
Mhm. Yeah, it's really interesting in the coaching that we do. I use these exercises, right? There's homework in between because when you're talking with somebody, you have to make changes. You have to implement things because whatever you've been doing hasn't been working. And so, you know, I did have one of my clients say, "Can we make the workbook real? You know, how do we take this exercise and bring it into real life?" And so, especially when we're talking about communicating, I'm like, okay, think of a specific time. Okay, this is a conflict for you. Give the specific example and what was going on and how you were feeling about it and what you would have liked to have seen differently. And so when you can go back and talk specifics and stop generalizing, you always do, or you never do. When you're talking in that way with somebody, their mind is going to start getting defensive and start thinking of the time that they actually did it. Maybe that was only one time out of 20, but they did it. So you can't say always and never. So again, coming to specifics and helping people realize that this is the thing that's bothering me. And I think it's because ... And the because needs to share, you need to be able to share a why or a feeling. Because again, if you leave it too wide open, there's too much interpretation. And so in this communication process, the other person then gets to say, okay, so I hear that this happened and this is how it made you feel. And, you know, you wish that this had changed. And as long as that's accurate, then you flip it. And the other person gets to say, in that specific situation, what was going through their mind. And so you can figure out at that point, you know, oh, it was just a perception thing. It's not that you hate me. It's not that you did this on purpose. It was, this is what you were thinking in that moment. And I get it now. So, I mean, that kind of, you know, just kind of really helps you if you are thinking, you know, all these things are spiraling around. Think of those specific times that you can pinpoint and have each other talk back and forth for a little bit and understand where that person is coming from, because, you know, it could then have to move into problem solving mode.
Well, it gets very confusing when you're in the midst of a relationship like that. Like you say, your head's just spinning and it allows your head to stop and say, okay, this is one specific time. We're not just like generalizing and thinking about everything, and it helps you stop and maybe move forward to that,
right? To
a different, I guess, attitude.
Yeah, I mean, you got to stop the spinning, right? I mean, yes, you can feel like things are going and going and going, but until you can, you know, get off the crazy cycle. Emerson Eggerichs, he talks about the crazy cycle, especially of love and respect, and you know, stop the crazy cycle, stop it, talk about it. If too much emotion is coming into the conversation, take a time out, get clear headed, and then come back to the conversation again. But that's another key. Don't forget to come back to the conversation, because sometimes we just leave it. We get to that emotional state and you're trying to spin through things and you're like, okay, I can't talk about it anymore. But we need to come back and finish the conversation.
So thank you, Rebecca. Rebecca's with the Relationship Foundation. My name is Paula Pardel. My company is Bloom Matchmaking. The show is called Modern Love. You can find out about Bloom Matchmaking on my website, bloommatchmaking.com. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, everywhere. What I do is I'm a concierge matchmaking service right here in Virginia. I also offer services where I'll help you with your dating apps too. Give me a call. I'd love to find out how I can help you. My number is 804-244-1398. And Rebecca, how can they get a hold of you and learn more about the Relationship Foundation?
Sure. We are on Instagram and Facebook as well. Get Relational VA. Our website is rfva.org or wecoachcouples.org. Would love to talk to you about the coaching program, Strong Dads, Boot Camp for New Dads, all that kind of stuff. We're all about relationships, and we love to work with new relationships that Paula puts together through Bloom, and just anybody that's out there kind of wondering what's going on. Again, as a nonprofit, we are here to help couples get stronger in their relationships, and we are accessible and affordable. So check
out their website and learn about Father Christmas also.
Yep.
We're going to be honoring fathers for Christmas time and doing a lot of special things around the holidays for fathers and families also.
Exactly.
But we're on ESPN Richmond. We'll see you next Friday. Have a good weekend.
Hi, this is Andy with Junk Luggers.
Perfect.
Have you ever